Hi everyone, Morelli here. Today I'm going to take a slightly different structure to my video, and it was kind of inspired by the fact that I usually made the thumbnail about one Pokemon that I had on my team. And so I thought, why not take this a step further and really focus down on the different types of sets that Pokemon can use. And if you guys want to skip through ahead to the battles, then I'll put the timestamp in the description as well. So today I'm going to be talking about Magnezone. Magnezone usually has three different sets. The first, and I guess the most common across all rungs up the ladder, is the Custard Berry set. It is the most common because I think it's definitely the easiest to use. With the Custard Berry and Sturdy, Magnezone is guaranteed to fire off 2 hits unless you are facing off against Mold Breaker Pokemon or Mold Breaker effects like Gmax Fireball from Cinderace. But those are rare, and this type of Magnezone set can be really threatening against a lot of Pokemon such as offensive Landorus T and Cinderace without Dynamaxing, that they usually try to take out Magnezone by targeting its weaknesses. And this set completely throws a wrench in that plan by ignoring Magnezone's weaknesses, always surviving hits, and firing off 2 neutral stab moves that, from Magnezone's strong special attack, it's really difficult for a Pokemon like Urshifu, Cinderace, those type of offensive Pokemon to survive that. And this set maximizes Magnezone's 1v1 potential. Here I have Thunder Wave and Steel Beam. Thunder Wave is mainly used for Sucker Punch Cinderace that aren't Dynamaxing, and that means that you can fire off a Thunderbolt and just on the Sucker Punch go for the Thunder Wave and cripple it for good. But those are not the only 3 move options that Custom Magnezone runs. Mirror Coat can be useful with Sturdy, and also they can also use Endure to make sure that they activate the Custom Berry more reliably. The second set is the Assault Vest set, and this is definitely the more common set on the higher ladder. And the reason for that is Assault Vest makes Magnezone really carve out a niche in the meta by drastically improving its matchups against Porygon 2 and Tapu Fini. So here is an example of a block team that uses Assault Vest Magnezone. And what this team does is that it almost forces in Tapu Fini against the fact that you have the Urshifu and the Dracovish. Many teams rely on Tapu Fini to check that. A lot of teams also rely on their Porygon 2 to keep Zapdos in check. And all of that combined makes it that Magnezone can have a field day against those specific Pokemon that let it in for free. And once Magnezone gets in for free, even one offensive Pokemon that beat it hard 1v1, things like Garchomp, Cinderace, Landorus, those will always want to KO Magnezone, of course, but they have difficulty switching in, and Volt Switch is a way to flip and get out of the way of any other disadvantageous matchups, unless they are ground type, like I guess Swampert, or has Volt Absorb like Thunderous T. Those are pretty bad matchups for Magnezone, and you will probably have to shelve it. But other than that, Magnezone really excels at taking advantage of those 2 Pokemon, getting momentum. Finally, the last set is definitely not the most common set. It is pretty rare, but it is the Weakness Policy set. And Magnezone does have a few notable weaknesses, common weaknesses to fire, fighting, ground. All of these are pretty common coverage moves. And with the Analytic Boost, Weakness Policy Boost, Magnezone can flip some really unlikely looking matchups. And on top of that, with the Max Steel Spike boosts, Magnezone can survive some very absurd damage, as you saw in the intro clip. So yeah, and I will show the rental codes for these two teams one last time, and let's get into the battles then. This is a pretty well-known stall team that got pretty high on the ladder, but unfortunately for him, he has no Volt Switch immunity, and that means that Magnezone combined with Banded Urshifu is going to have a field day. And he has a Bulu, and unfortunately for me, I don't have either Poison Jab or Iron Head on my Urshifu. I have Thunder Punch, and maybe I should change that. But here, that I don't think that is going to be too big a deal, because Magnezone can switch in onto the Bulu for free and actually benefit from its grassy terrain as well. So I'm going to be able to switch in and around and really abuse their reactive team. And my last is going to be the Dracovish, going to be able to pressure the Tyranitar, also going to be able to kind of overload on the Toxapex and their physical walls, which are going to be pretty pressured to take on Urshifu to first place. So, for example, if his Tapu Bulu gets forced in to take a few of those wicked blows, that means that it might be brought down in range of those vicious rends. So here I go for the Volt Switch. There is literally no need for me to predict anything. It is likely that he has a Slowking, and that is indeed the correct play in order to not suffer immediate heavy losses against this Magnezone. And yeah, that means that he is prepared for Magnezone, but he is not prepared for this combo of Magnezone and Urshifu, which is brought in, and I am able to fire off the freest Wicked Blow around. So that means that, so one thing to note is that Tapu Bulu can survive even Poison Jab Bulu 1v1 if I just stay in and just try to hit what's in front of me. And that is an easy bait to fall for. So for example, if I go for the Banned Wicked Blow, and I go for the Max Ooze as he Leech Seeds, and he can Max Guard and Max Fairy, he can Max Starfall, and that is going to be a sequence that is going to be losing for me. But I am not, first of all, I don't even have Poison Jab, so that doesn't matter. And second, I know that he is like still quite afraid of that possibility still. So I'm going to kind of be able to get a few opportunities to kind of stay in on the Bulu and just go for more free Wicked Blows and really speed up my progress as he is forced to go for those Leech Seeds instead of Dazzling Gleam. So I am just going to go for the Volt Switch. If he stays in, there's very little he can do, even if he gets this predict right. Like, let's say he stays in and I go for the Volt Switch. If he Leech Seeds, I'm going to be shedding it immediately with the Volt Switch, and he won't get any healing from that. And he goes into the Slowking, as shown here. And that means that I can go for the Wicked Blow again and slowly make progress on that Tapu Bulu. And I definitely still need to watch out a little bit for my PP, but at the same time, I still have quite a few, and he brings in the Toxapex here, and that is definitely because he has revealed the Bulu, and he definitely doesn't just want to switch into the Poison Jab and lose the game on the spot. That would be pretty dreadful. But I don't have it, and he may do this a couple of times until he is absolutely sure that I don't have either move. And because those are a lot more common options than Thunder Punch, which I happen to have, but those are probably better, to be fair. So he saw that I am locked into the Banded Wicked Blow, and he is gonna switch in with the Tapu Bulu, and that is 3 Wicked Blows down, I believe. But for those 3 out of 5 Wicked Blows, he definitely has lost a lot of HP on that Bulu. He is around 65%-ish. And I'm just gonna stay in and really push my advantage here, as he is nearly forced to go for the Leech Seed here. And I am sitting pretty, because this, if he switches out now, he is like unable to take 2 Wicked Blows, so this is looking really good for me. And all of this is enabled by the Assault Vest Magnezone. The fact that I am getting these very free Wicked Blows. I have no reason for to go for the outplays, because Magnezone is just kind of letting me do make these really safe plays that are forcing progress on them. So he does go for the double Leech Seed, which is a great prediction by him, but that was just a prediction to barely stay even in the game. And unfortunately for him, he does not get rewarded for it, but it is not something that he can keep up for long, more than a couple of times, unless he really outplays me. So yeah, I show the Flash Cannon here once, and that means that he's going to switch out for sure here. And I am going to go for the Volt Switch again, as I have been doing all game. And that Volt Switch does quite a bit. And Urshifu is going to come in, and actually I'm going to recover off the Leech Seed damage on the Urshifu. So even if I were not to completely break through all 3 of his Pokemon, the fact is I am basically taking no damage from these extended sequences. I do definitely need to watch out for my Wicked Blow PP. I might need to Dynamax this Urshifu, is what I'm thinking here. So that means, so if I want to go for the dark moves, I can just go for the Gmax 1 blow with the Sucker Punch, because that gives me more dark type move PPs. And he goes into the Toxapex. Now it's really low, and the thing is, I actually have the Dracovish in the back, so even though he is barely holding off this Urshifu for now, I am running out of PP at this point. But as I said, this is actually looking pretty good for the Dracovish, which is going to have a really good matchup now that both of these Pokemon are below 50%. And here I am gonna go for the Magnezone here. I'm not gonna because he has been brought down to brink of defeat already. So I figured he might try to go for the Dazzling Gleam instead of hitting the Leech Seed on the Magnezone, which would be the correct play, but he had to take a risk somewhere. And this was a good place to take the risk if I were to kind of stay in, for example. So, and he goes for the Protect. He wants every bit of HP possible. He probably realizes that I am AV at this point, or at least I don't have Body Press, and because Body Press plus Volt Switch, not exactly a very good combo. And I go for the Flash Cannon here. As I said, I do want to kind of catch him on the over predicts. So, and I am comfortable losing a few predictions here and there. So he does make the wise play to go into the Slowking. not risking everything on that spot. That would have been greedy, but nicely played by him, and that means that I need to just full switch out. So this is still not really a big deal. So the thing is, he has doesn't have too many good options to hit Magnezone either. So he could go for the flamethrower or EQ, or if he predicts the Urshifu to come in, which is very likely, he'll go for the Sludge Bomb. Because I figure that my Urshifu HP is a lot more important than my Dracovish HP. If I get my Urshifu poisoned, for example, that would be really grim. So I'll go for the Dracovish switch in, and fortunately for me, I don't get poisoned. And Dracovish now gets to fire off a pretty free Vicious Rend. I thought this was gonna... I think this is gonna KO the Toxapex, 2-hit KO the Toxapex. It's at fairly low. It's definitely KOing, 2-hit KOing the Bulu and the switch in. And let's see how much exactly damage it does. And does quite a lot. But he has the Black Sludge recovery, and I'm kind of afraid if this was going to be like some kind of min-max roll situation. So I don't want to risk that if he were to go for recover against me not KOing. That would be really unfortunate. That would undo a lot of the progress that I've made, and I've spent almost all of my Wicked Blow PPs to make this progress. So I'm not letting that go to waste. Just going to go for the Max Mindstorm, which is barely stronger than the Vicious Rend. But I mean, this is still fine. I'm gonna take this KO on the Toxapex, and now he is forced to make progress. And one interesting thing with the Tapu Bulu core is that with the Grassy Surge, Leech Seed combinations, that's their main way of making progress. But at the same time, those animations take quite a long time. So we've actually spent like 12 minutes, 13 minutes of the clock. And what that means is that he is kind of in a rush to make any progress. And I'm not sure if he can do that. I'm just going to switch in Magnezone into Bulu, and he'll be forced, he'll be put on the back feet. And actually, if I get another Volt Switch on the Slowking, what's going to happen actually is that I am going to just bring in Dracovish and get the 2-hit KO on the Bulu on the switch in. So that is no good for him. So, and actually here I'm gonna go for the Max Guard, and what that enables me to do is stall out my Dynamax, because indeed Dracovish does less damage when it is Dynamaxed. And now with the Rain Boosted Vicious Rend, this is a KO on the Bulu unless he Dynamaxes. So let's see what he does, but this looks like a lock. And my opponent, understanding that, forfeits. Good game. Pretty long one, but a good one. This game, Magnezone doesn't exactly have the best matchup spread around, because Cinderace, Garchomp, and Urshifu just outspeed it and KO it. But the matchups that it does win, the Zapdos, the Porygon 2, and the Mimikyu, are also pretty relevant. Porygon 2 matchup in particular is pretty good, and I think Mimikyu is going to be my best Pokemon in terms of matching up against their team. And I realized that his best answer to that is probably the Steel Spike Porygon 2, which is a common set. So I want to take advantage of that with the Magnezone. And I'm going to be leading with the Dracovish, which has a phenomenal offensive matchup against basically everything. If he leads Zapdos, then I'm just going to go straight out into the Magnezone and see what he does. And so yeah. My opponent leads off with the Urshifu, and it's a water Urshifu. So this is going to be a pretty awkward matchup for both of us. Close combat, not gonna kill. Fish's Rend, resisted. And on top of that, if he is Scarf Urshifu water, which is a very common set, it's not even going to be doing double damage. So taking all of that into account, I feel that Psychic Fangs is my safest play here. I mean, he could switch out to something that resists Psychic Fangs, because it is my best move here. But you gotta be a mad lad to switch into things with Dracovish when you have no water resists. So he does go for the close combat and end up doing a ton. So that reveals to me that it is a Banded Urshifu. And that will come in to relevance later in the game. Hopefully, probably, maybe. But other than that, right now, he gets to go into the Porygon 2, and he gets a special attack boost. And still does okay chunk. Nice damage, considering that I didn't use Fish's Rend, which is the only move that really does damage on the Dracovish. But this means I get a pretty free switch in to Magnezone. And unless he calls this immediately and goes into Urshifu, this is gonna be a really good matchup for me. He doesn't, which is, I mean, expected, right? Like, if you are facing off against something like Magnezone, you might not understand, like, or even if you think that this is a common line of play, you might be a bit wary of just going for the hard calls on turn 1 or turn 2. And now I'm in a pretty good position. I can just go for the body presses, which will KO the Urshifu water because it is at such low HP, and it's gonna do a lot to Porygon to definitely break those substitutes. And I don't know, it really depends on what spread this Porygon 2 is running. I do want to check that this Thunderbolt will break the substitute, because that is a pretty relevant detail to know, because if it doesn't, then I might want to conserve body press PPs. Turns out I don't have to worry about any of that, and in fact I'm just going to go for more body presses as he goes for the recovery. I actually think I do go for the body press here, but I'm not sure if that was a right play, because I could have just gone for the full switch here and brought out Dracovish. But here I'm gonna one turn too late, but I think this is still a good turn to full switch out. So if he goes for the recover spams, then he's not gonna beat out the Thunderbolt and the body presses in terms of PPs. But if he tries to mix in any move like that, then I'm able to catch the Porygon 2 off guard, and I'm gonna get my low Dracovish. But doesn't matter if I have 1 HP or full HP, this Dracovish is gonna do a ton to Porygon 2. And he has no switch-ins. That's the thing. Dracovish has no switch-ins. I'm able to take advantage of that. And Magnezone really letting me use my Dracovish to the fullest extent by letting me go for get a safe switch in with the slow full switch. So turns out he is going to sack his Porygon 2 and bring in the Mimikyu. Fair play. I would probably assume he is going to go for the Shadow Sneak, but there is also the option that he will go for the Swords Dance. I don't think the Swords Dance is a right play, but he goes for it anyways, like, whatever. And I definitely didn't want to concede a free Swords Dance. Definitely not. And in fact, like, there's quite a few ways for me to really win this. If he actually Shadow Sneak there, which would be a better play in terms of preserving the Mimikyu. I could just go Magnezone and just Dynamax it and win, because yeah, I'm going to be getting Steel Spike boosts, and an unboosted Mimikyu has no chance. Close combat, probably not going to be enough. So I am just going to try to beat this Mimikyu down 1v1. I have the disguise, he does not, because he wasted it going for a Swords Dance. And unfortunately for him, the fact that he Swords Dance doesn't mean anything against my Mimikyu disguise. And here I will Dynamax and just take out this Mimikyu unless he has the faster Phantom Force. And he doesn't even risk that. He goes for the Shadow Sneak. I do think that is the right play. But I'm not sure if that's going to be enough, because he has the Banded Urshifu, and it's not enough for enough damage to one-hit KO this Mimikyu. He's not going to Dynamax for sure, because that will actually lower his damage output. And all that remains is the moment of truth. Does this Urshifu have the ability to break through both my Mimikyu and the Magnezone? Let's see what he does. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's going to try his best. Surging Strikes does a lot of damage, but in fact not enough to take out this Mimikyu. I survive on the red, and that is going to be a good game. I'm going to go for the Max Starfall. And Urshifu goes down. He didn't even get a good spot to Dynamax his Pokemon. And here is more of the weakness policy Magnezone. So you might realize that I do have a pretty similar structure to that team. Unfortunately for me, I don't have Volt Switch on the Zapdos, though it would have been nice for me to incorporate some kind of pivot move to really take the most advantage of Urshifu. And in fact, I probably, after this recording, want to think a little bit more about this team, try to tweak it, and if there is something good I come up with that is slightly different, then I might post it. If not, then I might try to post something completely new and different with different Pokemon. So if there's a Pokemon you guys want to see me try, then definitely leave them in the comments. I can't promise anything, but if there's anything interesting, then I'll definitely listen. I lead off with the Cinderace because it had a pretty good offensive matchup against his whole team. Ferrothorn one-shot by the Pyro Ball, of course. And he brings in Azumarill, the shiny Azumarill. I also have one, but unfortunately for him, I do have the Gunk Shot. So let's see if he just kind of cuts his losses and goes for the Aqua Jet, or believes that he can actually win this 1v1 matchup with the Azumarill. Or if maybe he goes for the Dynamax, or hopes that Gunk Shot misses. And none of that happens for him, so no outs for the Azumarill today. Unfortunately, goes down without getting to do anything. So that is a 3-2 advantage for me. And I already know one of them is a Ferrothorn, so he better have something to check the Cinderace, you know? And turns out that it is a Rhyperior. That is definitely a good Cinderace check. I don't have high jump kick though, and that is definitely unfortunate. He probably either feels pretty confident that I think he felt pretty confident that Cinderace is not going to have both Gunk Shot and high jump kick in team preview. I mean, like, that's also still a pretty common set, but I guess that is the assumption that this guy made in the team builder. So I am just gonna switch out because I don't want to get rock blasted and die on counter, because that would be a really embarrassing way to go down. I definitely want to keep my Cinderace alive for now, and this switch into Tapu Fini will definitely let me stall out those turns of Dynamax on the Rhyperior. Rhyperior are very hard to take down while the Dynamax is active, so, and in fact, I am not even going to go for the Ice Beam because the potential weakness policy threat is way too great. I'm just gonna go for the Nature's Madness. If I miss, then so be it, whatever. But I want to get some chip, and on top of that, I want to make sure that he spends all 3 turns of Dynamax trying to break through the Tapu Fini, right? So if I were to activate this weakness policy for him, I would just go down right away, and I'll be forced to deal with Rhyperior with the Dynamax active. That is never a good place to be. And yeah, maybe if I had Water Move on this Tapu Fini, I would be in a slightly better position, but I still feel pretty confident with the Nature's Madness Tapu Fini. Lander is definitely the more common and important pick of ground type of choice. And yeah, you could actually argue that this team is not too strong against Rhyperior, right? So like, these are the type of, I guess, team building concessions that a lot of players make if you have, in order to best handle the Landorus, the Cinderace, and the Mimikyus. So here I'm just gonna go for the Flash Cannon. I actually just survive straight up if he is not weakness policy. So like, there is a possibility that Rhyperior is actually faster than me. I mean, most Rhyperiors are pretty slow, but I mean, there is a possibility, and that means that I'll be able to beat that 1v1 even if the Rhyperior is some kind of really speedy version. And if actually with the Sandstorm and the special defense boost, Rhyperior could survive this Max Steel Spike, and it probably did, depending on its bulk spread investment, but it's still not a big deal because I was still at least going to be doing enough to the Rhyperior to put it in Pyro Ball range, and Cinderace would just click Pyro Ball 2 times and just win the game there. So he switches in Ferrothorn to this Magnezone, and yeah, you are going to resist both my Max Steel Spike and my Max Lightning, so good for you. But unfortunately for me, I am just gonna go Steel Spike 3 times, and that will let me boost up my body press. So even though I don't have any Iron Defense set up, this is still going to be enough to KO this Ferrothorn with the easy body press. So yeah, one last Max Steel Spike, and Ferrothorn actually just taking a lot of damage from just the Steel Spikes alone. I'm assuming this is a very physically defensive Ferrothorn then, I guess. He goes for the double Leech Seed. I don't think that was a good play, but at the same time, his other options were like going for the body press and activating my weakness policy, or I don't know, doing 2% with the gyro balls or something like that. So that is probably why he just went for the two Leech Seeds. If I switched, then that would be nice. If not, then no harm, no foul for him. And he is going to try to make most out of this bad situation by going for the Leech Seed and the Protect combo. And that's going to get him up to quite a bit of HP. He's now in the green, but I don't think he can survive my Ferrothorn, not my Ferrothorn, my Magnezone's Body Press that is strongly boosted, super effective. And I think Magnezone also has a bit of a defense investment on top of that. So, yep, that is a clean KO on the Ferrothorn. And that is going to be GG. I don't see a way a Rhyperior can beat both Magnezone and follow-up Sash Cinderace. So it is possible for this Rhyperior to still survive my Flash Cannon if it's like very especially defensive Assault Vest type of situation. I mean, those sets aren't that uncommon because Rhyperior, that lets Rhyperior beat Zapdos. And he reveals to be exactly that kind of set. But that means that I can just bring in Cinderace and just go for the Sucker Punch. I don't even need to risk the Pyro Ball miss, because Assault Vest means that Sucker Punch will always succeed. So let's see what he does. Yeah, I go for the Sucker Punch, and that activates, so he went for an attack. And Rhyperior goes down. So good game. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.